Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Crane, and I am the Program Director at the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And you are listening to Global Industry Spotlight, a conversational series focused on providing resources and insight for the creative entrepreneur. We are streaming live out of the Comcast Business Startup Studio, a room designed for Chicago's small business community, located at 2112, Chicago's first music, film, and tech incubator. Today, the Global Industry Spotlight is on Diego Pinzon, the founder of Dawn Audio. Dawn Audio exists because the creation process for musicians and artists today is broken. The team has developed a new category of software that enables artists anywhere in the world to plug in and co-create real time with their favorite production tools. Rather than build a new tool for artists, Dawn Audio's web app bridges capability with the existing tools artists use and love today. A New Orleans-based startup, Dawn Audio's mission is simple: to promote artist creativity. We envision a world in which a global community of co-creators finds a common home to further share the passion that already drives the music industry. Our technology is the foundation to making Dawn Audio that home. I'm really excited to bring in Diego Pinzon.
Thank you, Daniel.
Hey, Diego, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. Um, well, first of all, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. It was great having you at Who's Who in Music Tech. Your presentation was fantastic. Really impressed. But just to get started, let's hear a little bit about you, your background, and then we can talk about what Dawn Audio is doing.
Yeah, sure. No, and I had a great time up there, up in Chicago. Definitely looking forward to being back. Yeah, quick background on myself. I'm Colombian born, and was raised in New Jersey. But where I'm currently am is in New Orleans. Have been here for the past about 5 years. Came here initially to go to Tulane University, where I was studying engineering. But what brought me to Tulane was New Orleans, and what brought me to New Orleans was the music. I've been a drummer my whole life, and during my time at Tulane, I got into music production. So you see the monitors in the back, the whole studio setup, and just kind of fell in love with that because as a drummer, what these music production software give you the power to do is create an entire arrangement, song, play sax, trombone, all these other instruments without having to really learn them. And so that's an amazing power that I quickly, again, fell in love with. A lot of my friends were also into music production. And through that, just kind of, music has always been a collaborative thing. And so always was wanting to work on music with my friends. So whether that was up in New Jersey or when I was down here in New Orleans, just kind of always collaborating while simultaneously, again, kind of completing that engineering degree. So I graduated back in 2021, so about a
Mhm.
year or so ago. Fell so in love with New Orleans that I couldn't leave, and decided to bear all the hot summers, hurricanes, and everything that the city brings, and have kind of been here ever since. And so yeah, just kind of that dual sided of the engineering academic background with the music passion that just drives that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a drummer as well, so we didn't even get to talk about that.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know that.
uh, yeah, before we went live, everyone, Diego and I were talking about bounce music in New Orleans and just kind of like the different styles of music that come out and how genres from different cities can kind of be, go worldwide, right? So did you go to New Orleans? Did you study drums at all, or was it mostly engineering?
Yeah, so it's funny. I had always played in like the jazz band back in
Hmm.
New Jersey. I was involved in like everything and anything music, so marching band, pit orchestra, wind ensemble, stuff like that. And when I came to New Orleans, I joined the jazz ensemble. I was taking some lessons at first, and I loved music. So like I said, I was always involved in it, but yet I felt that with drums, I just never had the drive to really like commit to it outside of just like when I was playing. And so I actually ended up, while I was like really involved my first year in the jazz group, the second year, my sophomore year, I decided to actually drop the program, just because I felt like I wasn't being respectful of the other musicians' time. They were grinding hours every day. That's what they wanted their careers to be. I always just kind of enjoyed playing drums, but never felt like that was what my career was going to be. And in that transition, one of my college friends was taking this minor at Tulane called music science and technology. So he like took us into this computer lab one day that had like Logic Pro set up on the computers, and we were just like messing around, and immediately kind of fell in love with that. Was just like asking professors for access to the room, so the computer is going, getting access to the studio, and again, and spending hours outside of just class or whatever doing it. And so I realized that that's actually where I should be putting my energy and focus towards.
And that was the beginning of kind of Dawn Audio, right? So obviously you're working in if everyone's looking at the name, it's DAW, so Digital
Right.
Audio Workstation, Dawn Audio. So you start working on these, audio workstations. You're excited about the creation process. Kind of walk us through what led to, all right, well, let's create something, like Dawn.
Yeah. Funnily enough, like kind of stumbled into it in a way. I think like I highlighted, I'd be in New Orleans and I'd want to work on music with my friends back home, and then I'd be back in New Jersey and I'd want to work on music with my friends here. And even just being in the same room, for quick context for those that don't know, so like a digital audio workstation or DAW, they're just tools like GarageBand. So I think most people are familiar with that. The problem is, there's dozens of these different softwares. So there's GarageBand, Pro Tools, Ableton, Logic, just dozens of names, and there's no industry standard. So I would be using one, my friend would be using another one, and my other friend would be using a third. And so even if we were in the same room, we still couldn't really collaborate because there's no compatibility between these software. And that was just incredibly frustrating. So I'd be in the room with my friend, and I'd have to hop on his computer and try to learn how to use what the key commands were and all the shortcuts, and I'd be spending half an hour doing what would take me 30 seconds to do on my laptop. And then if we're remote, even worse, because we don't even have that face-to-face conversation. So what ends up happening instead is that we're just emailing these files, these huge files, because they're audio files, through third-party software, and just this incredibly outdated process. And I just kind of, I was like, there has to be a better way. Like, there's no way that this is how music's getting made still. There's Google Docs, there's Zoom, there's all these tools, and there's just no way that this is still how music's getting made. And tested a couple of the other kind of existing solutions, some of them kind of cool, but just still wasn't really that in-person experience
Right.
brought digitally, like we've seen in other industries. And so just started kind of developing this idea. The reason I say I stumbled upon it is while studying engineering, we needed to well, two things. We needed to have a senior capstone project, and we needed to complete an internship to graduate. And COVID hit, and my internship got canceled. And
Mm.
so my professor said, if I know you've been working on this idea, if you want to continue to develop it, it was the summer before my senior year. If you want to continue to develop it, you want to do this incubator program here in New Orleans, we'll count that as your internship. And then you can pitch the idea to the class and see if, you can get a group to work on it for senior year. So I did that truthfully purely because I needed to graduate. Again, it
Right.
was the kind of thing where I was developing this idea and I was like, I don't know if this is possible. I don't think this is
And this
possible.
is computer
Uh,
engineering, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is not audio engineering, like
Right.
programming,
Yeah.
computational engineering.
Hmm.
And so, completed the incubator program, pitched the idea, got a team, and I've told this story to the team countless times. But I remember sitting, in on my porch before our first meeting, and thinking like, shoot, like how do I tell these, my classmates that I think I may have doomed us, and I don't know if we're going to be able to complete this project. That's our like senior year capstone project, because I don't know if this tech can actually exist. And so obviously, I was like, well, I can't say that. So I'm just going to run with it. And we just kind of ran with it. We had a really, really amazing programmer on the team who was doing a dual degree in computer science. Leo, he's our CTO. He was up at the Who's Who event. And just a really strong founding team
Yeah.
outside of that. And, we were able to kind of get the idea rolling. Purely wanted it to just be a class project, graduate in May, and we're done. And then advisors, professors, mentors, artists, people started saying, y'all really have something going here, you should continue working on it. And so we just decided to dive in after May, had a conversation, and kind of have been going ever since.
Yeah. And just to reiterate what Diego is talking about, so if someone is working in GarageBand and another person is working in Logic, you can now collaborate together on the web, uh, you know, making music and recording music. And I loved your phrase of middleware. I think that's just like a great a great way to explain it. So, musicians who are out there, I'll put just the website below. I mean, I think this type of technology is really important and will be very helpful because, like you said, everyone works, has different, they record on different things, whether they're using Ableton or Logic or Pro Tools or GarageBand. I think there's a bunch of other ones now too that maybe I don't know about. So, all right, so your senior project ends up being something that, like, wait, this is something. This could kind of grow. You graduate. What was the year kind of after graduation? What are some of the things that you and your team are working on right now?
Yeah. So, and yeah, to reiterate, basically what's novel about our solution is that middleware approach. So we say, we're like the middleman, middleware, whatever. We sit in between the applications. That hasn't been done before. So the class project year was done purely just to prove that our approach can work, that
Hmm.
two artists can get into different applications and collaborate. But the obviously application, the UI, the audio quality, it was all really bad at the end of that first year, because again, it was purely just a proof of concept. And so from then on, kind of what that second year and since has been building is refining the application based on the feedback we've heard from artists, and also building out the entire business side of the company, making sure that we have a marketing strategy that's viable, making sure that we have the right advisors in place to fill our business development gaps. I mean, our entire team came out of as engineering undergrads, right? So learning how to do all these financial models, sales plans, and all of this came as a result of gathering a team of advisors that has coached us through a lot of that. And so and in that, growing our network, so partaking in accelerator programs. So we're in an accelerator here in New Orleans, through Idea Village, and through pitch competitions to get funding, and kind of just growing out the momentum, the traction, the base. And so since we've taken and I probably have some video of like the original kind of really bad website UI. But we've taken that, and what we've built now is an entirely downloadable desktop applications that, right, runs on Windows, runs on Mac, and basically just sits on top of your DAW. And so again, what that'll do is you're able to log into our platform. You create a session, and you can call that session whatever you want. So we've been to studios where they maybe have one studio that's called the Red Room and another one called the Blue Room. So again, same exact experience as when you're building out a physical studio, but you're doing it digitally. And then you're inviting whatever artists you need to invite into that session. So when you join the session, invite your friends, everyone picks the DAW that they're using, and then you're just able to streamline that collaboration. I'm able to, say I let you take the drums for the track. So I'm able to edit your drums. You're able to, edit maybe whatever piano line I threw down or whatever. The novelty comes that when we hit play, even though they're two separate projects, they're streamed and synchronized live. So, within 500 milliseconds, we hear both projects synchronize, your drums with my piano playing live, and any edits that are made are done real time. So as a quick note, we say we're, like Google Docs for music. So in Google Docs, you type a sentence, and even though you typed it,
Right.
I can see and edit that sentence right away. With Don, you record drums or vocal part. Even though you recorded it in your DAW, I can see and edit it right away, even though we're using separate software.
And how many people how many different rooms can work together?
Yeah, so I mean, so it's only like one room working together, but
I
it's
mean, how many
however
people
many
can join the
artists
room?
in
Yeah.
the room. Yeah, so right now it's just kind of arbitrarily set at 4 artists.
Mhm.
So right now we're in our beta testing. So this Monday, actually, we just reached out to our first 7 artists. Every artist that gets invited off of our wait list gets an opportunity to invite up to 2 friends. And so we're kind of doing this kind of exclusive closed beta. And so based on that, we're just looking to get feedback on the application. And if we have enough artists saying, look, we're trying to collaborate with 5, 6, 8 people at a time, then cool, we just up the number. It's really just an arbitrary number on the server side, just to keep costs down. But right now, 4 artists can join a room. They can be using whichever DAW. Right now, we're compatible with Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton, and FL, which we found takes over 75% of the market. And similarly, if we start hearing enough feedback about, oh, I'd love to use Studio One or Reason, then cool, we'll expand to that. It was just a matter of, again, we're early stage. We had to
Right, yeah,
start
start
somewhere,
with
and that's where we're building.
yeah. And so the one question I have is, and this was when I saw, Diego's pitch. So the pitches at Who's Who in Music Tech, for people who were not there, were 3 minutes long, and a 3 minute pitch is very quick. Like you really need to know like what you're gonna say, be on point. And Diego's pitch, he didn't even have to look at the time; it was done. Like he ended his last sentence, and it was 3 minutes, and it was just very impressive, especially for being young, and you seem to really have a strong grasp on just some of the basics of business. I mean, you mentioned that you had advisors and mentors and people you've talked to, but can you just talk on a little bit like how you've been able to um, build a team? What has inspired you? Like, I would say that, when I was your age, like I was definitely not thinking about all these things that you're thinking about, or, knowing about market share and all, I mean, everything. Like, it just seems like, one, you've been exposed to this before, you've had some great mentors, advisors, but just talk about kind of how, like, hey, I'm a young guy building a business. These are the things that have really helped me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and I think as first time founders, as young entrepreneurs, and again, especially as like engineers going into this, like we didn't have business classes. So I remember the first time I was looking at a financial model, I was like, this just doesn't make sense. Like I was trying to be scientific about it, and you can't. Anyway, the point is, a lot of what helped us was going into and looking into pitch competitions and accelerator programs, that basically by applying to them forced us to build out a business model, forced us to submit a pitch deck and answer all these questions. And so by being prompted with those questions in the applications, we had to then go do the research to answer that. I treat our advisors and mentors the same way. So I say to our advisors, I'm never looking for you to give me the answer. I'm looking for you to ask me the right question that will lead me to the right answer. And so in that, the main thing has been just never being afraid to ask someone for advice or for help. So one of our advisors was a judge in one of the first pitch competitions we did, reached out to all the judges afterwards and said, hey, would love any quick feedback. We're young entrepreneurs. We're always looking to improve. Just was expecting nothing more than maybe a sentence or two. He said, let's hop on a call, talk for an hour, talk the next week, and have been talking ever since for like over a year and a half. And so that type of relationship building where what a lot of advisors and what we found is also investors appreciate is coachable founders. So what I mean by that
Mm,
is that you get that feedback and you're not defensive about it. And I have been defensive about feedback at times, but it's that reminding yourself like,
right,
look, you're not supposed to know everything,
right.
especially at our age, even for our company's age. An investor, an advisor, no one's going to expect that you have everything figured out. If you have everything figured out, odds are that you're not seeing something. And so it's that advisor's or that investor's job to really point out, hey, I don't think you're considering this other thing. So there's just that open-minded coachability, and looking again for not like direct answers or more so guidance, and again framing it under, I need an advisor to ask me questions, not answer my direct questions in that sense.
Yeah. And okay, so what are you working on right now? What are you excited about? What does the next year look like for Dawn Audio?
Yeah, so right now we're kind of in a interesting position. So both, I think we've made some really strong progress on the application. Like I said, this Monday just started the rollout of this kind of beta version of it. And that's going to be super exciting. Again, we took a lot of the feedback from the very early testers earlier this spring, and have really built it out in a way to where we were working with this contracted firm for developers just to accelerate our progress. And truthfully, one of the main things they helped us with was just infrastructure. So again, going into it, it was like, yeah, we're all engineers, but also we're like a year out of college, so we'd be entry level engineers if we were hired anywhere. And so we were just like, whatever stuck is what stuck and what we did, and it wasn't necessarily the most scalable architecture. And so we revamped a lot of that. So a lot of what's exciting is just how we're going to grow. So we started our beta rollout, and in that, on the sales side, we're treating our marketing as kind of a B2B or business to business kind of approach. And so what I mean by that is we're targeting universities, studios, different, just programs that basically Discord communities, different programs that have large existing bases of artists, and trying to basically form partnerships with them. So we spoke early on with plenty of Discord moderators. Discord just like a platform for where artists, form communities. And we spoke with those admins and moderators and said, what do you feel like your community is missing? What are the problems that your community faces? So almost treating that entire community as like one customer. And what we found is that a technology like Don's would help those communities with further artist to artist engagement and artist to fan engagement. And that holds true through university programs, through studios. If you're able to promote this kind of more direct artist to artist engagement, it benefits the entire community because, again, music is something that has been communal and collaborative since its creation, long before there was an industry around it. And so we've been doing a lot of that work on the back end. We had a pilot program launch in August with a university up in Arizona, Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. Their student chapter of the Audio Engineering Society invited us out to do a Zoom event, basically tell them about Don, show them the product, with the idea of then being able to onboard the artists and the students onto our platform. So really excited about, one, just seeing what artists are able to make on, in the sessions, just hearing the music that they're able to create. And then secondly, starting to build out some of these more community and social based features. So we want to be hosting workshops for these communities. We want to be hosting competitions, right? So if artists are saying, hey, yeah, this collaborative piece is great, but also me personally as an artist, I'm struggling with mixing, then cool, let's maybe find an artist in our network that would be cool with hosting a 30-minute workshop on mixing tips and things like that, and really building out that community, that where artists are already actively engaging on Facebook and all these platforms asking for tips. We're just able to provide a tool that allows you to do that, host those sessions live in real time.
And
So yeah.
so yeah, I mean, all that sounds incredible. Couple questions. So Discord, are you on Discord? Do you use Discord a lot?
Yeah, so yes and no. So I'm personally on Discord. I've joined countless like different music groups to try to just keep an eye out. Also, even just to learn how artists are engaging in there.
How are
We do have
artists
a
engaging there? I joined,
yeah,
and I think, obviously I'm a little older. Just, I mean, it was a little overwhelming at first of like, how do you gather information? Like,
yeah. No, it's
what is being talked about, and yeah. So just talk a little bit about. I like this idea. So you see, basically, what you're talking about is that you can use the technology or the software that Dawn is creating to build kind of fan engagement with
yeah.
artists. And so, is your vision that an artist is creating a song live, and the artist is able to join in on that session, or the fan is able to
The
join in on
fan,
that
yeah.
session and be like, and watch watch your creation process? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, I think you worded it. Yeah, I think that's the quickest someone has even gotten it because I didn't really dive into the vision yet, but that's almost exactly it. So right, so as a quick again side note to your original question, on Discord, Facebook, Reddit, all these online platforms, what that's opened up for artists is that artists are able to just pose a question. I've posted on Facebook like, hey, I'm looking for, just as a test, I'm looking for any mixing tips for early artists, and within 30 minutes I had 60 responses on the post because it's just
Mm,
artists willing to help artists, and these are people in their bedroom making music, professionals in their studio. So you have this connection between the entire depth of the industry that we didn't have before. The problem and where that lies is that even in Discord, we see a lot of people saying, hey, I'm looking for a sax player. I'm looking for, someone to collaborate with me. And then cool, the engagement happens. But then when it's time to actually collaborate, Discord was never built for artists, or it was never built for musicians. Same thing with Facebook, Reddit. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, but it was just never built with co-creation in mind. And so, what our larger vision, or really what we call implications of our technology, is that we would build and host a social and communal platform that's centered around that co-creation. So our technology allows, artist to artist engagement. What you then see as a result is that if artists can engage, they're going to want to form communities. If they're forming communities, they're going to want to monetize their content. So sell samples, build out marketplace features, right? Charge for community access to exclusive events, things like that. And to your point, right? Like I don't know if you're familiar with Kenny Beats. He's a producer,
yep.
and he has a Twitch channel. He has a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and he'll host weekly competitions in his Discord. I think they're on Saturdays now. And basically, he'll hop on Twitch. He'll give artists an hour to make a beat. He'll hop on Twitch and he'll judge the top 10 beats. And then the top 10 artists get like hundreds of dollars in prizes each week. What our technology would enable is that maybe you have a tournament and at the end of the month the top artist gets to hop in a session with Kenny, right, or something, or maybe you're
Mhm.
paying for a certain tier in their Patreon, which gives you access to 30 minutes a month of working with this producer that you've always been looking up to. So stuff that before would have just never been open for artist to fan engagement starts to open those possibilities. We say it's a little cheesy, but we've said in the past that artists are really creative at being creative, and Don is in a lot of ways an open canvas. So we've been where the artists are the artists. So we've been in discussions with artists, with investors, like this one where we'll start talking about the tech and they'll say, "Oh, so you're saying like down the line it could do this other thing and this other," right? So we've started to brainstorm some of those potential applications, and what we know is that once this tech's out there, artists are going to even they're going to get more creative as to how they're going to use it. So there's going to be a ton of applications and streams and channels for artists to engage with their fans that we can't even think of right now.
Right. Yeah, and I think fandom in general, since COVID, has been really important for artists to make a living. Right. If you're not able to perform live, being able to create engaging content online, right? Like, hey, like watch me build a song, but like not like the recording of watching me build a song, but the actual watching me build a song with another artist.
Right.
I think that definitely has a lot of exciting possibilities. Well, Diego, I could talk to you for a long time about New Orleans bounce and
Yeah.
drums and also just the collaborative technology that you're building, that I think is going to be really exciting to see where it goes. I also agree with you that when you build any space, whether it's physical or digital, people kind of do their own thing with it, and it's always interesting to see how people interact with spaces, and how they
Yeah.
become creative with it and use it, and you're like, oh wow, I never thought about it like that. I can say that for many spaces that I've been a part of thinking it's going to be this one thing and this is really where I'm going to be, but having the open mindset of of other possibilities, I think is really important. Well, if you had just some like advice for young engineers or young entrepreneurs like yourself who are building companies, what would be your 1 2 3 or 1 2 or whatever when becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah. It's funny. I think I'd seen like the interview with Pixie, and I think she said something similar to what I'm about to say. But it's like, again, I did not even think that this tech was possible for the first 6 months that I was working on it, and the way life kind of laid itself out, I just got the opportunity to work on it. But I say that to say again, don't doubt yourself. I think entrepreneurship is about looking at a situation where probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people have said, "Hey, I wonder if this is possible." But entrepreneurship is about seeing if it's possible and actually giving it a shot and doing it. So I think the difference between entrepreneurs, and it's not just a thing of mindset. I think it's a thing of opportunity, of resource, and the way that things line up. But I think the difference between an entrepreneur and not an entrepreneur is just that drive to say, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. So again, so just your wildest thoughts, your wildest dreams, like just if you have the capacity to and are able to, resource wise and everything, give it a shot. And then the second piece of advice is, again, just always look for advice. So if you're at some event, always follow up with the people that hosted it. Always follow up with someone that you had a conversation with. Always, and the age old saying of ask for advice, get money; ask for money, get advice. Like, don't drive in immediately saying, "Hey, I'd love for you to be an advisor," or something. Just, very casually just say, any feedback. I'm always open to anything. Be respectful of their time. And again, it's amazing the amount of relationships that you're able to build as a result. So
Yeah, those are two great things. Did you hear the story, the Pixie story about like poaching eggs?
yeah, with the class, yeah. I was like, that's just what, yeah, like it's opening day, and then you're like, damn, I don't know how to poach an egg. Like that's, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, and that literally she had like 3 days to learn because no one came in, and
right,
then the big review people come in the third day after she's
Right.
figured out how to do it, and her restaurant stays busy from then on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's awesome.
yeah, it's awesome. Well, Diego, it was great to meet you here in person at 2112, and it's exciting to hear about what you're building, and we'll definitely be watching and supporting and spreading the good news about what Dawn Audio is doing. And please keep in touch. And thanks again for joining us for a Global Industry Spotlight.
Yeah, appreciate it, Daniel.
Great conversation today with Diego Pinzon of Dawn Audio. What him and his team is building has a lot of possibilities. So I definitely think everyone should go and check out. I put in the website below, dawn-audio.com. You can see the cool things that he is building. Again, my name is Daniel Crane, and I am the program director of the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And this was another episode of Global Industry Spotlight, a conversational series focused on providing resources and insight for the creative entrepreneur. We are streaming out of the Comcast Business Startup Studio located at 2112, Chicago's first music, film, and tech incubator. Thank you to Comcast Business and Shure for providing the tools necessary to make our programming possible. And this particular episode was sponsored by Dell Technologies for Startups. Each month we are talking with music tech or tech companies. And today was one of them. So thank you to Dell for supporting us in supporting the industry. Visit cceglobal.org to register for free workshops offered by our partners. Find us on Instagram and Facebook. And tune in next Thursday for another episode of Global Industry Spotlight with radio host, TV presenter, content producer, Brice Albin. Really interesting guy. Can't wait to talk to him next week. Wishing everyone a wonderful rest of their week themselves. Take care, and we will talk with you soon. Ciao.